We're front and center.
Jerry, can you say cheese real quick?
All right, so without further ado, we're gonna get started. So what I want to know from you guys to start off is what do you, I feel bad, I'm like sitting with my back towards something.
Yeah.
What do you guys want to learn from Sherry today? Just shout it out.
How her listeners fall from his mind.
Good, good. Years
What
of
about
effort.
starting out? How did you get your first couple pieces of business?
Okay.
I walked to school both ways in the snow.
Oh,
Compound them, Sherry.
I think David needs to leave.
Anything else?
How you're so good at what you do, like what tools you do. Or use.
It's my president.
How about your work-life balance with 2 kids in school in the beginning of your career?
Okay, should I, where should I start? I'll start with that one.
You can, yeah, go ahead. You can start with that answer. That's a good one. And then we're gonna back up from there. So go
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, so Matthew was 11 when I got into the business, and my daughter was 15, right? 15. So basically what Matthew's better at than I ever was setting boundaries on times when you work and when you don't work. My goal, I just worked whenever anyone needed me, except when he had any games, my kids had any games or anything important. I was always at everything for my kids. I don't think he could tell you anytime I ever missed anything.
That's true.
I think what I love about your family dynamic is that the family is very important to all of you, right?
Right.
To you, to Matt. And I think I love seeing that, and I love the relationship that you have with your children, both children, right, and the grandkids, and how important that is to you. I think that's huge.
Right. I don't think between Matthew, his family, my daughter Vanessa, we don't ever go more than, I don't think we go a week without seeing each other unless somebody's on vacation.
Yeah.
Never. Just never.
Okay. So let's go back. You've been in the business for 22 years?
I think it's 23 in November.
23 in November? Okay, so 2002 is what I had, yeah.
Yeah.
That you got started.
Right.
Okay. So what made you get started in real estate? Because this is going to take us back even further, but what made you want to get started in real estate?
That's a really easy question for me because, as Kim knows, I sold Princess House for 10 years before, which is a home party plan. And if you want to build a business, just, you bring people in and you have people under you, and it's like a Tupperware home party plan that you do. And after 10 years of doing it, I realized that I wanted a job that my success depended solely on me and not what other people were doing. And I told myself, okay, I like people. I don't need someone to tell me when to work, what to do. And years before that, I worked in the mortgage department of a savings and loan. So I kind of learned about real estate then too. And it just seemed to be the thing to do. But I will tell you that when I was like 21 and I worked in the mortgage department, I said about want to be a realtor then because I, had all these things coming across my desk and I learned about it. My boss then said, you can't be a part-time realtor. And I'm going to have to say, and if anyone here is doing a part-time, don't be offended, but I don't think you can be a part-time realtor. I think it has to be what you're doing full-time.
Okay. All right.
I got into it.
I love it. So let's go way back. So where did you grow up?
I grew up about 5 minutes from this office. I grew up right around here. I have lived in Michigan at one time, and I lived in Las Vegas at one time, which I think he already put it out there, but I was a blackjack dealer for 3.5 years in Vegas.
Yeah, so tell us more about that.
I could tell you a lot of stories about that, but it was an interesting profession, I guess.
Okay, so who did you work at?
I worked mostly at the Horseshoe, which was downtown Vegas. I started at a place called the California Hotel, which it was called a break-in hotel, you know, like where a lot of new dealers went to there. But then I worked at the Horseshoe Casino, and they were known for firing people, so I felt pretty good that they never fired me, because I guess I proved myself because of some of the transactions I had with gamblers who gambled a lot of money. And at one time I had one of the owners, Ted Binion, sit beside at the table where I was dealing, because the guy was playing $10,000 a hand, 4 hands each, and he was either going to win or lose 400,000. And he was already down, I think, 400, and he wanted to play 4 more hands. So I deal out 4 more hands, and then he was like, no, I don't want to do it. So Ted Binion says, oh, let's just play it for fun, because I had a 10 showing. And when you have a 10, you always look under to see if there's an ace under there. So I look under, do my thing, and we play. In the first 2 hands, he doesn't hit. The second 2 hands, he hits and busted. And then I turn over with a bust, like a 6 or under, and then you have to hit again. And I busted, and the guy stood up and he looked at me and he said, you know, you could have winked or something, because, you know, I should have given him, like, play this, you know, you're going to win 40 more thousand. And
Was that back, you could see the underneath card back
you always
then?
look under the
Because
dealer,
today
you
you just
look
see,
under.
today you don't know the card, you just know if it's a 10 or an ace, right?
No, I know what it is, but you just are looking for an ace.
Yeah.
Okay. And the truth is, I couldn't have told you what was under there, because as a dealer, all I'm looking for is that ace. I didn't know, but anyway, I think that really, Ted Binion thought I was pretty honest, because I didn't do that. That was the biggest story.
Okay.
There was more, but that's the biggest one.
So what, I mean, first of all, what took you out to Vegas and what brought you back?
What took me out is I got actually married when I was 18. Now, I was not pregnant. I don't know what I was thinking, but I got married when I was 18, and then I was getting a divorce, and that's when I was working at the savings and loan. And I thought there had to be more to life than this. You know, I'm very young, I'm working a regular job. And I was out with some friends one night, and I was talking to this person, and I was just restless. And he said, you should go to Vegas and be a blackjack dealer. And I was like, what a blackjack dealer? And no, I didn't even know then. And so that's what I went out and did it.
And how long were you out there?
3.5 years.
Okay. And then you somehow at some point decided to come back. Yep.
Yeah, I think. Is there any IRS people in here? Because the IRS was cut, because now Atlantic City opened up. And they did it different down there, like at the Horseshoe and all the casinos there. At the end of the night, you just threw all the money on the table, counted up, split it between the dealers, and that was it. And in this one year, the IRS came in because they saw how much money the Atlantic City dealers were making. So they started auditing all these dealers, and they audited all these dealers that worked where I did the year before I started, I think it was. And I had friends that owed a lot of money. And I think it was kind of that and personal relationship I was in. And I go, I'm done, I'm going home.
You skipped town.
I skipped town. I mean, I still claimed, I still did, but you know, every house that you worked in, meaning, you know, the club, whatever, it was kind of an unspoken amount that you would claim. So it's not like I didn't claim. It's kind of like a waitress, you know. So I came home.
Okay. So when you came home, what did you do? What was your plan?
I got a job at AMP. Normal job. Yeah, I worked there for 6.5 years, I think. I'm not sure. And then I went to a Princess House party, and that's when I decided to do that. And then I did that for 10 years.
Okay. So just tell us a little bit more about Princess House, just for the people in the audience that have never heard of it before.
Okay. You need to enjoy people, because you know, I'm sure everyone knows what Tupperware is, and maybe David hasn't, I don't know, maybe you haven't. But you go to a Tupperware party, and it's usually a bunch of women, and you stand up and you talk about your product, and you play some games, and people buy, and then the goal is to get bookings, and then someone else will book a party. But when you're in it, like Kim and I were, your goal is to bring people in to do what you're doing. And recruit, which I know you kind of do that here too, but it's
It's like a
all,
pyramid, they have people under it and then you
Right.
pay for where they sell, and it's glassware, right?
yeah,
Crystal.
it's now been added
Like
on,
glass.
now they sell a
Yeah,
whole lot
crystal.
more stuff, but
Yeah.
it was stuff people don't use anymore, China,
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
remember we had some pieces of that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So working there, what did you learn about yourself?
I will tell you this, when I got into real estate, I felt like 10 years at Princess House was like going to college to become a realtor. Exactly how, and Kim could probably say the same thing.
Yeah.
You learned the sales skills, you learned the people skills.
So I would say people, I never thought of myself as a salesperson per se, because you don't talk someone into buying a house or selling their house, they're gonna sell or they're gonna buy. But it's just then working with each individual person or what they're looking for. I've always thought whether it's $100,000 house or a 700,000, you treat them all the same. First of all, that's just as important to them as the $700,000 house, or if it's an investment, you never know where that's gonna lead you to the next deal.
Referrals,
Referrals,
which we'll get to, absolutely. All right, so Princess House for 10 years, then what? What made you leave there?
Well, I have an answer for that too. Kim knows we call them opportunity nights. You would bring people in. Well, first we had what we called a hostess night, and we thanked all our hostesses for having parties. But what you're really doing is trying to recruit them to sell like you are doing. And then you would have what we call an opportunity night. We'd get together with them and go over the whole process of being a consultant. And after a while, like I'd do these sessions and it would be over and they'd walk out. I'd be like, they're not going to do this. You kind of could learn after a while who was going to make it and who wasn't. Because I will tell you, when I first told somebody who none of you probably know, you might know her name, that I was going to get into real estate, she said to me, well, let me just tell you that most people don't make it past their first year of real estate. So, and I said, well, I made it through 10 years of Princess House and they used to say the same thing. So it's just, it's either there, like if you don't like people, don't be a realtor. And if you can't be flexible, don't be a realtor.
Well, just like the video that I put out last week, right? Don't be a secret agent.
Right.
You can't be a secret agent in this industry. You have to make sure that everybody knows what you do.
I can tell you some strange places I've got clients. Kmart's not there anymore, but I was in line at Kmart and I got the person behind me got talking and I sold their house in Devon Manor. I hurt my ankle one time and was in rehab, and my girl that was rehabbing me, I got hurt. One time I ended up in the hospital because I had vertigo, and I got my nurse, got her house. So it's like, oh, I guess it's all worth it. So in other words, what he's saying, don't be a secret agent. Tell people all the time. It's easy to bring it up that you're a realtor in almost any conversation, I think.
All right, so tell me about your first year. What did the first few months look like? What did the first year look like? How did that all play out?
Well, back when I started, there wasn't all the social media, so it was a lot different with print ad and things like that.
MLS folks.
MOS, the little real estate magazine, Harmon Homes, which is then homes.com, and I don't even know what it is anymore. But my husband was a cop, so I sent out, I've sent out the little calendars for like 20 years, till Matthew changed it this year. But they're just a little recipe calendars. People love that. They really
Like
did.
on the fridge, yep.
Yep. And I sent them out to like Susquehanna cops, Lower Paxton cops. He was on the SWAT team. I sent him out to all my Princess House people. So that's probably what gave me a really good start, is reaching out to all those people.
So I want to pause there, right? Because I talk about this a lot with every agents. So the first thing you did basically was you got these recipe calendars. You ordered them from somewhere, right? Had them shipped to you, and then you assembled them and you sent them out to everyone you know.
Everyone.
Everyone. And that was basically your announcement that
I don't even know. I don't know that I did that the first year,
Okay,
but I sent letters and I reached out to all those people that I just told you about. The cops, the Princess House people, you know.
Yep.
And family. And I know a lot of people say don't work with family, but almost all of our friends have used me and most of my family over the years. And I think a lot of the whole thing comes down to trust. People have to trust you.
for sure, for sure. So that first year, do you remember how many deals you did that first year, or what your volume was, or?
I should have looked it up, but I can tell you what my very first deal was. She was a Princess House person, Lisa. And I started at a company called Jack On, and they used to do, I forget what they called them, but they'd have their meetings and then they'd go out and see different listings and stuff.
Broker tours or office tours?
Yeah, it kind of helped you learn about pricing and stuff like that. And one day I remember I was out on it and my girlfriend texted me and she said, I think I want to sell my house. And so my very first deal, they bought each other's houses. My buyer bought her house and they bought her house. And I was like, I said to my manager, I have no idea what I'm doing. He goes, just do what you're doing. I'll take care of the paperwork. Just do what you're doing. And that was my very first deal.
Love it. That's awesome. So throughout your first couple years, what did you find was the most important piece of your business? What was the one thing that you knew that you had to do every single transaction?
Every single transaction. Well, I always gave a gift and I always wrote a card, a personal card to every client, sellers or buyers. A lot of times the buyers and the sellers were the same people, sellers and the buyers were the same people, but I just gave a gift and it was something that I personal for them always. And then when I did send out my calendars, and I used to keep, you know, it was different then, but I used to keep a notebook and I'd write it down and then I would send them an anniversary card. And after the third or fourth year, it just got to be a lot. And I will admit, I kind of quit doing that. That's just, now Matthew thinks they do all that. They're good with that because it's a little easier with all the technology. But
So how did you, so I know you touched on it earlier, but how did you make sure, even in those first couple of years, that you were providing the best service to your customers, regardless of the price or the size or the type of house?
can you make a more specific question than that? I'm not sure how to answer that.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. So your first year, you kind of went through that. Was it a challenge for you?
I remember when I was first starting, I said to the manager, do you think, I just think I need to make at least 30,000 a year. He kind of laughed at that because, I don't know if I can talk about the income.
You can talk about it, come in.
Okay, so my goal always was to make 100,000 a year after that first year, which I probably made 30 the first year. It was, I don't know, and I've never been good with keeping the numbers. I just would know how much I made. I never kept track of the number, the amount of the house, you know what I mean? That
The
number,
volume.
the volume, yeah, that volume.
So it was always you're always tracking how much are you going to make?
I just wanted to make 100,000 and make it seem like it was worthwhile. I don't know, because you know there's expenses and everything like that. But
Okay.
I don't know. I just try to treat everyone the way I want to be treated. You know.
That's what I was gonna say, you never were like, I'm 6 months in, I'm at this amount of money.
Oh
It's
no,
just
I never
a
talked about
complete
that.
afterthought, which is like so key, I think, that we always talk about is like something you taught me is to always focus on like the process and treating every client,
Right.
you know, the same and just giving 100%. The money is sort of the byproduct of doing a good job,
Right.
which, you know, you never like really articulated that
No.
way, but like, that's not what you do, you know?
Looking back, I guess I'm going to say that was
So your goal was never, and that's where I was going with this.
No.
So I wanted to hear you say it, but your goal was never like, hey, I want to sell 50 houses,
No.
or I want to sell 5.
no, and I know that's how it maybe is in a business that you know you set up your goals. You do have to have some kind of goal.
Oh, but your goal for you, the goal was
Was the people.
how much I want to make, right? Like that was your goal, but it translated into how do I take care of the people?
I think it's
To
like
get that.
when I
referral.
waitressed at one time, which I never want to do again. I didn't wait on people and give them good service thinking, what tip are they gonna leave me? So when I'm working with an individual, seller or buyer, I'm not thinking, oh, what am I gonna make at the end of this? Never thought like that, but I'm just saying, in the end, that was what I wanted to do, was make
Yeah.
100,000.
And it's still a goal. It's
Yeah.
still a goal is to make 100,000, but you weren't as concerned where they came from or how
No.
much each transaction.
No,
You were just concerned.
that's why I
about
can't
service.
answer the numbers as
That's
far
fine. No, that's
but I
good.
always did.
That's good.
Yeah.
So, as you kind of went through your first year, went through your second year, through your fifth year, right? What did that look like? What did you learn about yourself that you were able to continue to grow in?
Matthew can probably answer better than me. I don't know. I mean, I've just always, I just I like people. I like to be around people. This isn't quite answering that question, but back to keeping in touch with my clients. There's a thing down in Atlantic City every December that they do. And I went to one and I was in this class and they said that you should, be keeping in touch with your clients all the time and have like a little get together. So I started 18 years ago to have what I called a client appreciation party, which I just had at my house. We had enough room. And I invited all of my clients, whether I ever heard from them or not. I invited every single one. So I think between doing that and the calendars, like it wasn't like a all the time thing that people were hearing from me, but twice a year, whether they ever reached out back to me or anything like that, they heard from me. And sometimes you might think, oh, is that worth it? But I had just a couple years ago, I had a guy that I sold his house 17 years before, and he was ready to sell, and he called me to sell. And I've had quite a few stories like that, where years later that they were, there's certain people that would come to the party every year, and they all get to know each other, and it's sort of start to seem like just like a family party or something. But it was worth it to always send that out to every single past client, because
Even if they
reach
didn't
out.
attend, they still got the
Even if
invite.
they never responded,
They still got the invite.
they still got the invite, they still got my calendar, and then I would hear from them years later when they were ready to resell.
So basically, you didn't think of it at the time, but you were building a system. And the system is you have a client event every year, you send your calendars every year, right?
Right.
So every successful business has systems that they build in order to get them to where they want to go. And that was your system.
That was my system.
And you did pies.
Oh, I did pies at Thanksgiving. Somebody started that when I was at Remax, and that I will say I didn't send to everybody. And then we would have they would come to the office and we would have pie set up that were cut up to give them and socialize, but then we'd give them a pie and they would have their option of apple or pumpkin pie, and they like that too. So I did that too.
Love it. Love it. So prior to Matt kind of getting involved in running kind of the team and getting together, what kind of marketing did you do?
Well, like I said, social media wasn't the thing back then. So I did a lot of advertising in the newspaper, the real estate book, which was a little 5x7 book that you would get at Stan, Harmon Homes. I actually did have like a website that went out every month for a couple years that I did that too. And then like the CD football thing and the basketball program. Like I kept everything I did. And I was like, well, I did do a lot of advertising more than I remember, but it was all print back then.
Was there any point in time where you stopped kind of or slowed down on the marketing because your referral business had kind of picked up and you didn't necessarily need to do as much?
Well, the parties and the calendars never stopped for me. But obviously with the print, no one does in the newspaper or any of that anymore. But, Matthew's, as you know, has been around for 9 years. And so he's kind of taken over all the social media kind of thing. Like Becker.
Blake Becker. So out of all the years that you've been in real estate, what do you feel like has been, again, what do you feel like has been a success for you? Just overall success?
Keeping in touch, I guess, letting them know you're still there. Whether someone wants you to be or not.
Okay. And then of course, on the flip side, what would be a piece of advice that you could give the audience on how they can improve?
Well, I don't know where any of you are in your business, but definitely keeping in touch one way or the other, however you do it, I think is really important. I had one client that probably referred 5 or 6 deals to me over the years before they even used me. And so you thank them, one way or the other. Take them out to dinner, give them a gift card, just do something.
I was just about to ask how you specifically.
Always,
thank them.
always, yeah.
Before Matt put together his like awesome database system, how did you track like your database and when you followed up with them and when's the last time you reached out to them and like how you put everything together?
I wasn't good with that kind of stuff. I just, Matthew goes about listings falling out of the sky. It's just because it's past clients that,
But it's not by accident, right? And I think that's what we need to make very clear is that the career that you built for yourself by the consistency of the events, the pies, those things has really helped you to create that referral business. And when you focus on building your business around the way that you treat people, regardless of the size of the transaction, versus focusing on how much commission am I going to make, or what can I do with this money
right.
now that I have this deal under contract when it settles, right? It gives you the commission breath. You don't want that. But you build all of that to the point where people trust you and they continually come back to you because you provided them great service and you're reaching out to them on a consistent basis.
I think I'm not real, I don't want to use the word professional, but formal. I don't think I'm a formal person. I'm more just however I would talk to any of you. That's how I think I am. Like when Matthew first got in and I took him on a listing appointment, we were there probably over 2 hours, not even 10, maybe 20 minutes of the business, and the rest was just chatting. And back then he was like, "Oh my God." But that's just, is that true, Matthew?
That's true.
That's true. I don't ever want to feel an appointment to feel rushed. Like I would always, when I was busier, space them out, because if I had a listing appointment, I would never make another appointment for more than 3 or 4 hours later, because you just never know. And I just would never want them to feel rushed.
Well, so and I like what you said there, right? So I mean, I'm not telling you guys to go out and spend 2 hours on a listing,
No.
right, or 4 hours on a listing. But what you were doing is you were building the relationship.
A lot of them, like this one I'm talking about in particular, their son and my stepson were friends when they were little. So I hadn't seen this person in years. And so they wanted to talk, and kind of catch up. So that's what I did.
Are you involved in any types of groups or nonprofits or anything like that out in the community?
Not really. I've been in networking groups already, but
Okay, so
it
tell
was,
me more about
the timing was right after I joined. 2 weeks later, I think, was when COVID hit. So everything was on Zoom. And one day, one of the guys called me after, and he goes, "Can I ask you a real estate question?" And I go, "Sure." And his son was going to buy a house in Pittsburgh. And I said, "Well, I can do a referral." Like I answered his question, and I did a referral. And the listing I've coming up now is that guy's wife, whose mother's in a assisted living, and I'll be listing that house soon. And that was years ago. So again, just to keep it in touch one way or the other, make it a impact, I guess. Like,
well, absolutely, it's the relationship and
relationship.
When people like you, know you, and trust you, they're going to use you.
Like I said earlier, I think it all comes down to trust. I don't know how some of you feel about the wait and see, but whenever I list a house, I tell them that we do not sell our own listings as often as people might think we do, because you have to have the exact buyer at the exact time for the exact home. But if it ever comes up and I'm working with the buyer, they're gonna know at that point that I'm already working for you, the seller. And it all comes down to trust. And then I have that same conversation with the buyer. So I've done probably 15 over the years dual agencies. And it really just comes down to trust. And I just say, if you're not comfortable, my office will designate another agent, and I've never had anyone do that. So I think the whole big picture is trust. That's what I think.
Okay. What questions do you guys have for Sherry?
Have you ever experienced a downtime, and what did you do to turn that around?
I think the only real downtimes I had was when everybody was having a downtime. And I remember saying to my broker one time about being slow, and he said, Sherry, if you're slow, everybody's slow. That made me feel better. I don't know. I think the market, as long as you're active and out there all the time, I think the market is going to go up and down. My family will say about every January or February, I'd go, I have nothing. And then the whole year would be good. So I think you have to realize and plan, especially if you're like the breadwinner, whatever, that you're going to have the up and down times, I think.
I think too, Mom, if you look back at your career, a lot of it was at Remax, or like you've had all the terms and everything for everything. But like you really do, like Michael said, had a system as far, even though you didn't have it on paper or whatever, where, your clients knew, hey, every fall, you're going to be doing the pie giveaway, which is a powerful touch. Every summer, you're going to be doing your client event, which is a really powerful touch. You're going to be sending your calendars, you're going to be doing that stuff. So even though you didn't really think about it like that, like you did have a really powerful, like quarterly touch plan. We just, you didn't have that terminology that you learned or didn't learn over there, right? But you did have like a really good system for reaching out to your people.
I must have done something right, because look how successful he is.
Cool.
Right? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was trying to avoid that because, it's about you. That's right. What other questions you guys have for Sherry? Nothing?
Over the years, how many people did you talk to that you brought over to Keller Williams? Maybe not Keller Williams, but just in general, like as far as like becoming a realtor based on like your success and things you loved about being a real estate agent?
You might not like this answer, Mike. Because of my years with Princess House, and it was all about recruiting and bringing people in. When I was at Remax most of my career, and it was more of an individual job, I guess. And that wasn't what I never tried to talk anybody out of it or into it. That was not what I was trying to do.
Well, it's also not, I don't think that Remax it's really talked about.
So we'll talk about Keller Williams, especially if I was anyone new. This, I would say, it's definitely the place to be, because the training is unbelievable here. And I know you don't ever see me at the trainings, but that's just because of where I'm at in my career and, kind of do what I do. But Keller Williams, I think it's
When did you switch from Jack on to Keller or to Remax?
from Jack on to Remax.
Yeah.
Oh, that was easy.
Well, what year was that?
Well, I was in it for 2.5 years at Jack on, and then I went to Remax because the Remax was trying to recruit me, and I didn't know what to do, and I have to bring him into it again because we were having dinner, and Matthew was about 13 or 14 or something at the time, and he goes, well, where will you make the most money? Because he's always been about that. And I said, well, Remax. And he goes, well, then what's the question? That's the truth.
And what I wanted to get with that is, that was, 2004, so it's not the same as it is now.
No, not
right?
the
And I think it's important that even if your business is, slower or whatever, like when she was at Jack On, the cost to be there was significantly less than at Remax, right? But it was still like, hey, are you just worried about, your downside, or what's the upside? And at that time, that was the best place to be, best environment. And you made that jump, and you know, your career took off from there.
Right,
So the same thing could be said about, you know, Keller Williams right now.
yeah, I can't believe the training and everything that this office offers.
That's
It's
why I was
amazing.
curious, because when you said about the police captain being recruiting and then the great program that Keller Williams has, I was just curious as how you would bring that up to friends and family, as if I would be bringing up to my friends and family to recruit them over, or if it's something that maybe they didn't think about, maybe it could be a good fit for them.
I think the training is big here, the training, because it is a different world than when I started. And one thing I told him when he started, and I would, probably none of you would do this, but if someone asks you something and you don't know the answer, do not make up an answer, you know? And with Keller Williams behind you here, you have so many people that are here to back you up and help you. So that's training is big. And I think you really need that, especially the way it is now. It's a different world.
Well, with everything, I mean, every day there's something new, you know, I mean, look at AI, how advanced that AI has become just in a few short months, right? So just being able to, it's the same for anything, just being able to plug in to the education and always be learning. It keeps your mind fresh and it keeps you thinking. Whereas if you're not plugging into education and training and events and things like that, you're not even getting in a situation where you collaborate in a room like this, right? So yeah, 100% training is really, really important.
How long have you been?
Almost 2 years. I tried getting one over, and then she didn't stick. So I just wanted to see a talk track about how you bring it up and stuff, but training is definitely the biggest thing.
I mean,
The education piece and the culture piece, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
We talk about that a lot, is just the fact that you have a top agent in our office sitting here telling you her entire story and telling you what she did to be successful, right? We had Aaron up here, we had Jeremy Breton up here. So you don't go to another brokerage. RE/MAX wouldn't do that. Howard Hanna, where I came from, you would never see that, right? That doesn't happen. So that right there is the biggest piece, is the fact that when you're in an environment like this where you can learn from others who have already done it and are already successful, there's no reason not to be here. We can talk specifically. Cool. What else? What other questions you guys have?
You talked a lot about, and everybody seems to talk a lot about what works, what doesn't work. Like, what would you recommend we, as new agents, absolutely don't do?
Well, I'm not a pushy person, so I think first of all, you have to be yourself. You definitely have to be yourself. And
Don't be pushy, don't be salesy.
yeah, that's what I said. I've never thought of myself as a salesperson. Like, I will tell you, one of my husband's friends said one day when I very first got into it, something like compare me to a car salesman, which, you know, we're not putting down car salesmen, but you know how kind of they have that. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I would never be like that. Somebody's buying a house, they're gonna live in it. You want them to be happy. Like when I show houses, I'll say to a buyer, if you don't want an opinion, tell me, because I always have one, but I'm looking at things that you probably aren't looking at. And I might point out things, not to say don't buy it because of this, but you're just looking at different things. And I would hate a buyer to get in a house and something obvious and be like, oh, why did she tell me? You know, we're not engineers, we're not the home inspector, but we're seeing things that they're not looking up at the ceiling and looking for water spots or, you know, just different things like that, you know.
And even besides that, I know, like, my whole first year, I just shouted at her the whole time. And she would always say, hey, when we're going on showings, like, exactly, like, we don't ever want to, this is what she told me, some people might have a different opinion, but like, we're not here to sell that house. We're here to find them the right house, right? Whether that's takes 5 or 10 or 15. And that's how, because, you know, she is super direct and her clients appreciate that, right? Maybe 1 or 2 over the years have not, but there's a reason that she has been able to run so lean and not do crazy advertising, because her clients know at the end of the day, she has their best interests at heart. And she's pointed out, they'll go see a bunch of houses and they're like, are we at, like, Jerry doesn't want to sell me a house or what? And it's like, no, like, that's not our job, is not to do that. It's to be fiduciaries and advise them so that they're so happy they love that house. And so that they tell their friends, hey, you wanna go with someone that you know you can trust and what they say is the truth, and they're not just trying to sell you a house, you have to call Sherry. And that's how it's just been, you know, and that it takes longer, right? A sale maybe would take 8, 7 months versus one that you could have sold them on a house in 2 months, but that is a client that's gonna be there, you know, for life and send referrals, which is what it's all about.
I had a client once tell me that I showed him 50 houses. I said, really? Like, this was back when you would show 6 or 7 at a time. I mean, six was my max. I go, I'm not gonna show you more than 6 because what will happen, no matter what, your head will start to swim and it'll all blend together. This is back.
In one day.
In one
Not
day,
6
I mean, in one
seconds.
day,
You know, I
in
think-
one day,
right.
yeah, but that was back in the day, now you gotta get out there, as soon as it comes on the market, you gotta get out there.
It's all about finding the perfect house when you only have 6 choices.
I'm not saying it one
Choose
day.
carefully.
Does that help at all?
A little.
A little?
I mean, it's like, it's a big, right, big ocean out there and there's a million things to try. But I might be trying something that you and you are like, I tried this and it just doesn't work.
I don't
Well,
really know what you mean by trot, to be honest.
I think, so I think the other piece is that the consistency is half the problem. There's so many agents that start doing something. And then after 3 tries, they stop, right? Look at farming. Farming's a long game, you know farming's a long game. Farming, people will tell you it takes 12 months until you see any type of result from any type of farming. But if you send out 3 postcards and expect to get results and you don't and you stop, you're never gonna get results, right? I met with an agent the other day and they told me that they just sent out, they mailed a postcard to, I think she said like 1,000 doors. And that, I said, how long ago? And she's like, oh, about 2 months ago. And I said, have you mailed them anything since? And she said, no. And she's like, I'm really upset because I didn't get any business from it. Well, you're not gonna get business from one mailing, right? So I think, and I know that's just an example, but I think the key here is what you heard her say was the consistency. Over the 22 years, she consistently held client appreciation events. She consistently did pie giveaways. She consistently did the calendars, right? It's the
And if I'm making an assumption, probably you didn't do a client event or give a buy away and get business like the next day, right? It was because that kept you in their mind. So
Right.
that maybe 3 months or 3 years later, they thought of you, but like some people are looking for.
instant
Gratification that doesn't come as quickly, they stop their effort before the success can come.
And I don't know how many, well, I should do this sometime, how many past clients have become friends. So they also get a Christmas card too. You know, I never really thought of what I'm gonna try this or I'm gonna try that. I just was me.
Well, and that's what I love, right? Because you didn't specifically go out and choose something because someone else, you said, hey, I'm gonna do this because I think it's a good idea, and she stuck with it. And I think that's the biggest takeaway that I would take out of this is you have to be consistent with what you do.
I had someone ask me at one of my parties, these aren't all your clients, are they? They're friends. And I go, no, these are all my clients. I don't even invite friends that didn't use me or family that didn't use me. It's like strictly, but you can also put on that invitation, please feel free to bring a friend. But you know,
Mhm.
Yeah, and that friend could be your new one.
that's right.
So consistency, I think is the biggest thing, but I think regardless, everyone has that situation where they try something and they fail. But do they try it long enough?
Right.
Do they do it long enough? But, and also, for those of you in this room, I know some of you have been in business for a little while. You get those phone calls from people trying to sell you space on a grocery cart. You get those calls from people trying to sell you the next best lead generation
Oh my
program,
gosh.
right?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
like-
right.
So much of it.
Make sure that you do your research before you start plugging into something. And if you aren't sure if it's worth it, the answer is it probably isn't. Like if you're literally saying to yourself, you called me, right? You called me the one day and you're like, I don't know about this. Is this legit? And I'm like, probably not, right? So if you're unsure, the answer is probably that it's not legit.
I did do the grocery cart once,
Did you? Once,
but
but
it was for 6 months. And it was probably the very last month, I get a call from someone who had an accent And she wanted me to list her house. And at the end, like usually if it's a referral, they'll say so-and-so told me to call you. She didn't say anything. So I said, can I ask you where you got my name? And she started to laugh. She goes, off the grocery cart to Giant. And it was a $400,000 gorgeous house on D. Yeah. So it was, and well, this is a part of it. I was just gonna say, I met her and a week later, she was from, I forget where she was from, but she had to fly out of the country. And it was a week after I first met her. And she asked me to take her to the airport, which I did, but her stuff wouldn't fit in my car. And she trusted me to take her car to the airport and put it back in her house. That's not part of the story, but.
Yeah, but
It is kind of.
it is kind of, it shows you the example of trust that you
Right.
talk about.
I think it's just because I'm. It's me.
Okay. Love it. What else? Any other questions for Sherry?
David, I'm proud of you. You're not like giving me a hard time.
Don't get used to it.
I
I wasn't around 30 years ago to know what you did.
See, I think you have to
All right, any key takeaways you guys want to share?
I think the key takeaway that I got was, you know, like you said, be consistent, like you didn't write it all down and I think part of the answer to your question too was you did what worked for you, but you stayed consistent on it. You had your process, whether you knew it or not.
Right.
But it worked for you and you just stuck with it. So, you know, maybe not get distracted by, because I do that too, right? You know, like, oh, maybe I should try this, trying to, you know, like, and your head starts going, you know, like maybe the right, for me, maybe the right answer is write down a plan of what you're
like
gonna
a
do.
GPS,
But
like a GPS.
It's sort of like a GPS.
write down a plan of maybe what you're gonna do, and then just stick with that. And so long as it's working for you, right? You know, like, and but stick with it. So that was kind of, and be yourself, right? You know, so that was kind of my takeaway from what I've been.
Always stay connected, always stay in touch.
was never one to, like that constant thing, because you know, especially now, people get so many emails and so much stuff. But certain things I think is good. So Keller Williams is a place to be.
Any other key takeaways? Yes.
So, and I apologize, I got careless. But I really enjoyed this because I'm coming in from a different market center in a different state. Keller Williams Market Center in a different state. And I was there 5 years and I was doing that consistent calls, touches, eyes, events, things like that. And I'm getting calls now to list things in Wisconsin. And truly, I can't be there, but I'm doing referrals. So that consistency that I had 5 years is paying my bills right now.
I think,
And I'm so thankful to hear you saying, you know, continue to do that because I am seeing it. It works. Don't get disturbed or distracted by shiny new objects because KW in their training, it's amazing, but they're also very quick to say, try this, at least in the market center. But I've learned, and I see that same wisdom in you, that do what's right for you, not what's right for that person, and make it your own, and then stick with it. And add things that's unique, but not, so that's my takeaway, thank you.
oh, this isn't a question you asked me, but, this is something that I should have done better. And so you can do this now is I never asked for referrals. You know, like, I guess when you close a deal, you ask for a referral or you ask for a review. I never did any of that kind of stuff. But, when I did referrals, like out of the state or out, you know, the area, I've done quite a few over the years, but I probably could have done more if I would tell people more. Like my own sister didn't know that I could refer someone for her. She bought a house in Delaware. Didn't even know that I could do that. You know, so that's something that, like she's saying with referral, that I could have probably, I definitely could have done better. So start doing that now. Like, let people know that, because we have a lot of friends across the country that have money too, that I probably could have picked up more business that way. And I never had anyone that I did do a referral say I didn't like that realtor. So, you know, referrals are great.
When I do a database exercise with agents, especially those agents who came from another place, right? They relocated here. Almost every single time I go through the exercise and I talk about, you know, all the people that you know, I specifically ask them about the people from such and such place, right? So Wisconsin. I did not do this with you, so you're good. I'm just using you as an example from Wisconsin. But when I ask them, I say, hey, what about the people from Wisconsin? They're like, yeah, they're in my database. And I'm like, why aren't they? Right? Oh, because those people, don't live there anymore. Well, what do you mean? Okay, so you have to make sure that you don't lose sight of those people in your database from other areas, because you market them differently, but they're still part of your database.
Yeah.
Still part of your database. So that's huge.
Yeah, like what she was saying, I would say that, those people right now are reaching out to you because they think you're still there. Which is fine, but you need to keep communicating with them, but probably change the messaging at some point to say, hey, you may have heard I moved to Pennsylvania, but I still want to be your resource in Wisconsin, because eventually when they figure out you moved, it won't feel natural to call you unless you give them a reason.
Yeah, and that's part of my new marketing message is, hey, did you know? And here's why. And I'm excited to be out here, but don't worry, I'm still coming back. My family, so I can go back quite often. So, yeah, there's a little bit of managing that message too. But
All right, any other takeaways for Sherry?
I have a question, not necessarily a takeaway. Are we talking about referrals like nationwide?
Anywhere.
How do you find them? Like, literally, how do
What I
you
would
find
do is,
a good agent elsewhere?
I would just go to, well, now Keller Williams and put in that area, pull up the agents and read about them and just kind of get a feel.
There's a referral dashboard built into
Yeah,
Command.
let's get a
Oh,
feel.
is there?
So you go into
Okay.
Command, you go to the referral dashboard, you can literally type in any location. You zoom in on the map, it'll show you market centers, it'll show you agents, it'll show you the production. So what I recommend is get as hyper detail as you can on where they want to be,
Yeah.
right? And then go to that area and see who obviously excels in selling in that area, and then pick like 2 or 3 of them and call an interview.
I would ask the people I'd always ask them first, is there anyone you're particular, like, are you the one a male or female, or do you know, most people don't care. Most
Right.
people really don't care. But when he's saying about the area, I just had a client that didn't know where they wanted to be. I showed him a house in Lancaster. I showed him a house 2 hours away. I showed him a house here, and because they didn't know where they wanted to be, so I couldn't be firm, so I took them. And then they narrowed it down, and then I got an agent.
I didn't know about the command thing. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
Any-
Mike.
You're welcome. Any parting words for the group?
Good luck to everybody. Have those client parties.
All right, guys, pizza's back there, and stick around for Chris Hadley's class.